Hello everybody, this is Sharon Lambert, One Girl, One Truck. Waiting on people to get in here. First live video, YouTube. 3 people. Hey, somebody talk to me so I can see your comments. Hey now, Clyde, how you doing? Cranes and Trains, good evening. Chris, first, yes. How y'all doing? I'm gonna wait till some people get in here. I got 9 folks now. Sharon Lambert, I'm talking about Schneider versus Traveloko. 10 people. Hey Ray, how you doing? I gotta give it a little time to get some people in here. I've been promising this video for a while now, and we've had a few technical difficulties and had to get me some subscribers up in here. Thank y'all for that. I thank y'all so much for that, for the support, man. I asked and you delivered. I needed 100. I think you got me about 200. Good evening, Lee Craig. Jason Pote, the trucker's coach, he's a video expert, and he's been giving me tips. He just gets in here, and y'all know that I write more than I talk. Hey there, Marine Trucker 1775, AJ. How you doing, AJ? Yeah, I don't do this too much. I don't do it at all, but I write more. You guys read more of my writing than you listen to me talk. And maybe I'll do this more. We'll see. Good evening. You're eating a sub, AJ. Oh gosh, I see that I'm getting a poor connection. I hope it doesn't cut off. Please, no more technical difficulties. Let me see if I can move this thing around. Oh goodness. Hey King Thomas. I'm getting a poor connection signal. I hope you guys can see and hear me. Somebody let me know if I'm clear. Somebody, anybody, please? I'm fine. Jason, thank you. I'm getting poor connection and I can't see how many people are in here right now. All right. I don't know how many people are here. I was trying to get a good number. I'm clear wall to wall. 11. Okay. All right, we'll give it a few more minutes because I've been promising to speak on this topic, but I haven't been as reliable as my promises. Okay. Wow, I just can't see. While I'm waiting, let me check the comments. I'm just trying to get familiar with this and see how it operates. It says poor connection. Okay, well, if it drops, we'll just pick it back up again. How about that? And we'll just go ahead and go with what we got. 11 people on here right now. All right. Well, I want to talk about Schneider versus Traveloko. Actually, more concept than anything. Roll with it. Jason, got you, man. Lately, Schneider, Traveloko has been a real hot topic among people who are at Schneider and people who are at Traveloko or want to be at Traveloko. I have been asked a lot of questions. My perspective, full disclosure, I'm a former independent contractor owner operating in Schneider's IC Choice program. Number 2, that's one. I'm no longer there now, but I was there, and I left there about a year ago. I am an admin in the Schneider owner operator Facebook group that was created by Michael Stockman, and there are other groups popping up with the same name lately, but we have the original Schneider owner operator group on Facebook. That one was created by Michael Stockman, and I'm an admin in that group, still there, even though I'm not with Schneider anymore. I'm also an admin in the Truckers Coach Facebook group that was created by Jason Pope. Those two groups, my favorite groups to contribute to. I love Truckers Coach. I like the way Jason keeps everything clean and on topic. He doesn't allow arguments, and he doesn't allow things to go bad or whatever. He keeps it under control. So Truckers Coach is a great group, for trucking related stuff. And I'm still in Schneider for Schneider specific stuff, because still love Schneider. I'm not there anymore though. I left Schneider a little over a year ago. A lot of you guys from Schneider know me pretty well and you know why I left Schneider. See a bunch of new people here since I left. Right now I'm operating my own company, and I have no affiliation with Schneider now, except that I lease a truck from Schneider still. I kept my truck, but I'm leasing it, but I'm not with Schneider at all, and I have no affiliation with Traveloko. But since I do book loads in the spot market, I do deal with brokers, I do everything that the people at Traveloko do, I was asked to give my input on Traveloko versus Schneider. So that's full disclosure, just letting you know what my involvement is. It is none. And but just giving the information that I was asked to give. This isn't about Schneider. It's not about Traveloko. I don't have a preference over one over the other, but there are some differences, some very fundamental differences. And some people, they just kind of listen to hype and listen to things and run with what they hear. And some people want to be told what bandwagon to jump on. And, some people really want facts. Some people do their research. Some people do their homework, and they want to know, they want to know things. And people know that I do tend to do my research. I try to get it right. I try to put stuff out there right. And, so I do get asked a lot of times, about my opinion. I've been seeing all these YouTube videos and stuff out there making comparisons between Traveloko and this company, Traveloko and that company, Traveloko and Schneider. And I kind of got my attention when you started comparing Schneider, because I know what's up at Schneider. Been there, done that. And I kind of wanted to give my perspective as far as a comparison, because the comparisons I've been seeing have been more about cents per mile and expenses expressed in cents per mile, and load comparisons. And we know that when we're booking loads, either with Schneider, with the spot market, with anybody that we go straight to the source for, we don't always get good loads. We don't always get bad loads. It's good, bad, up, down. And expenses expressed in terms of cents per mile is not always accurate and reliable either, because mileage changes. I may run 1,000 miles today. I may run 2,000 miles next week. However that goes, that's a moving target. So my comparison, I seek to compare a statement. Schneider has a weekly statement. Traveloko has a weekly statement. We have gross, we have expenses, we have net. So profit equals gross revenue minus expenses. So that to me would be an apples to apples comparison. Not here's one load on the spot market, here's the similar load with Schneider, and I can get this much more revenue on this load in the spot market because I can negotiate with brokers and all of that. And this expense cost me this much cents per mile on this load at this one time. To me, that is not an apples to apples comparison. What an apples to apples comparison is for me is statement to statement, gross to gross, expenses to expenses, bottom line to bottom line. What you expect, what you truly expect to make in a week, what you expect to bring home in a week. That's what I want to do. I want to try to equalize some of these comparisons, and let's bring out some common points, some points that, what are you expecting at Traveloko versus what you're expecting at Schneider? I don't have to talk to anybody at Schneider because I did it. Again, been there, done that. So I know what's going on at Schneider. I got my own statements and everything. So I know my numbers. I know the numbers that I did. And I was pretty happy at Schneider. As far as Traveloko, I spoke with the owner, Eddie. I don't know his last name, but I spoke with him. and asked him a few questions, but he wasn't exactly forthcoming. It was like I had to pull the information from him. When I asked for numbers, he gave me scenarios. And then finally we got to some, this number might be this or this number might be that. And I wasn't very pleased with that information or the fact that he wasn't as forthcoming as I would have liked him to have been. I explained to him, I'm not talking to you because I want to come to Traveloko, but I want to get information for comparison purposes for other people who are interested in your company. He didn't really like that, and he just was defensive. But I did get a few numbers from him. I got numbers also before I spoke with Eddie from people that are at Traveloko who had made videos and stuff. So my numbers for Traveloko, Travis, how you doing? My numbers for Traveloko are composed of numbers that I've gotten from everybody that has given any input. I've asked directly some people, and I've gotten information from their videos and things that they posted. So that I don't have any direct experience with Traveloko, but toward the end of this video, I want to present my own representation of a statement, a Traveloko statement for a week and a Schneider statement for a week based on $4,500 worth of revenue, which is the equalizer. We can say that, yeah, I can get this much, you can get that much, but we got to equalize somewhere for comparison purposes. We want to compare Schneider's expenses to Traveloko's expenses and look at a bottom line. That is the only way, to me, you can compare. All right, and I'm gonna try to not to make this video too long, because then I don't want you guys to lose interest. I really don't have that many people in here. I don't think I still don't have as many people because I've been jumping all around. All right, anyway, with Schneider, considering present company, I don't have a whole lot to say about how things work at Schneider, but we can talk about costs. Obviously, if you're an owner operator and you lease on the Schneider, it's not any upfront startup costs. You don't have to pay anything, to get your tags or whatever down, and you don't have to pay any down payments for insurance or anything like that. Schneider pays 65% of the line haul. That's not the line haul from their customer. So if they negotiate a rate of $1,000, they're going to pay you $650. We'll talk about another point on that pretty soon, but that's what their contracted agreement is. Schneider pays for motor carrier liability and cargo insurance. They pay most tolls. You use their trailers, so you have no expense for a trailer. You use their load board, although their load board is their freight base. It is not spot market. I'm live again. Got cut off with my poor connection. All right, Schneider again. They pay 65% of the line haul. They pay motor carrier. Yeah, you lost me, Ray. I hope you got me back right now. Oh gosh. Oh boy, y'all. I've been getting this poor connection for a while now, and I'm gonna try this one more time, and I may have to not hear nuts. Yeah, AJ, Donnie. Yeah, y'all keep losing me. I see it happening. I'm trying to get back in here, but anyway, this is just disrupting my flow. Anyway, I'm back. I'm gonna try to stay back. Okay. All right. But anyway, Schneider. Now, the things that bother me about Schneider wasn't too much. Not here. Okay. Not here. All right. Ray Trammell, not here mean something that I'm not good. I'm not good right now. Somebody tell me, am I good? Refresh. I'm good. AJ, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Okay. All right. I hope y'all got all that on Schneider. Okay. I hope y'all got all that on Schneider. I don't want to keep repeating myself, and I'm trying to make this thing, not be. Okay, guys. You know what we're going to have to do? I may, as bad as I don't want to, I may have to continue this later, because just when I get to the points I want to say, this thing keeps cutting me off, and it's really jacking up my feed. It's not you, Donnie. Jason, it's me. It's a bad connection. I keep getting this poor connection. No, that's right, AJ. I'm getting a poor connection. I'm in a bad area. So what I'm going to have to do is come back and do this again. God, as much as I hate to do it. Conspiracy. I'm good, but let's go. Every time I go, it shuts me down at the time. Okay, all right. I hope you got the Schneider as many times as I said it. All right, let's try to go with Traveloko. If I get cut off one more time, we're going to have to do this again later, okay? All right, Traveloko. All right, with Traveloko, you have startup costs. They charge you, okay, keep going. Okay, got you, Ray. All right, they charge you $700 for a deposit on their trailer. You have to acquire a trailer. You can lease it from them, well, rent it from them. You're not leasing it because you will never own it when you get it from Traveloko. You will rent the trailer every week. And I'm going by dry van because Schneider owner-operators pull dry van freight. So there is no point in comparing dry van freight to reefer freight or any of that. You know, yeah, YouTube is hating on us. I got you, man. They hating on me right now because I'm brand new. I'm a newbie at this stuff. Okay, but anyway. So your startup costs, you're going to have $700 as a down payment on your trailer, okay? And you can pay that up front or you can pay $100 a week in settlement deductions. You're going to have to get your IRP base plates. You're going to have to plate, very bad connection. Y'all going to lose me. We about to go. But anyway, you have to get your base plates in your home state. That typically is going to run you about $1,500 to $2,000. Okay, you got to pay for liability and cargo insurance, but that's not up front. You don't have any down payment, according to Eddie that I spoke to. You don't have a down payment. You just start taking that out of settlement deductions. What Traveloko pays is 80% of the negotiated rate, the rate that you negotiate in the spot market with a broker if you lease your tractor and trailer from them. If you get the lock, stock, and barrel tractor and trailer, good now, Donnie, thank you. From them, you lease your tractor and trailer, they pay you 80% of the line haul and all accessorials. So that's like your detention and everything else, your fuel surcharge and all of that. That's 100% passed through to you, as I understand. They pay 85% if you bring your tractor, but lease rent the trailer from them, and they pay a 10%. They pay 88% if you bring the tractor and the trailer. Sorry, I'm checking those messages out to see how I'm doing. All right, now, one question that was brought up by me and several other people, which I did get answered by Eddie, is I was told that if you are a motor carrier, you have your own authority, and you go to Traveloko, which is a ridiculous statement to make because carriers don't lease to other carriers. They can't lease to other carriers. You can only run one set of numbers on one truck. But you have your own operator, your own authority. You are a motor carrier, and you choose to work with Traveloko. They pay you 90% of the line haul. Well, let's turn that around. Traveloko, in that particular instance, they offer back office support, which means that they, do all your IFTA and your drug testing and your safety compliance and everything. They do all of that, and they don't pay you 90% of the line haul. They charge you 10%. There's a difference, okay? The math may come out the same, but it is a difference in structure. We'll talk about that later. But that's what that is. That's the service that they offer to motor carriers, existing motor carriers. So a motor carrier is not leasing on to Traveloko. A motor carrier would continue to operate as they are, as a motor carrier, and they can contract Traveloko to do their back office paperwork and all their back office compliance and everything at a 10% fee, a 10% cost of the line haul. Still got a lot of questions about it, but that's the question that I had answered when I asked Eddie. So that cleared it up in my mind, that particular situation. Now, when I'm speaking 10%, yeah, got you, AJ. When I'm speaking now from here on out, since I'm comparing Traveloko to Schneider, I'm looking at the scenario of a current Schneider owner-operator who leased a truck from Schneider Finance, and they want to take that truck to Traveloko, and they want to rent a trailer from Traveloko. Okay, we're looking at that very specific scenario because that scenario would fit probably most of the Schneider owner-operators. Now, I do recognize some of you have your own truck and it's paid for. I do recognize that some of you may have your own trailer. But everything I'm doing here is trying to compare apples to apples, and I want to equalize everything as much as I possibly can. So we're going to talk about this situation. We're going to talk about 85%. All right, keep on going. With Traveloko, in addition to your upfront costs that I mentioned to you, you're going to have some additional expenses that the Schneider owner-operators don't get itemized in their statement. Some people are going to tell me, yeah, you pay it anyway because Schneider pays 65% of line haul, so that 35% includes those expenses. I would agree with you on that. So that's why I'm really careful about my terminology. The expenses that you're going to pay, the additional expenses you pay at Traveloko are Gosh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought I was cutting off again. Leasing a truck through a third party, yes. Somebody just asked, leasing through a third party counts as bringing your own truck. Yes, that does, and that's your 85% if you rent a trailer from Traveloko. You bring your own truck. Okay, I'm back up. All right, okay. Now, so let's go with Traveloko. You're at Schneider. You take your truck and trailer over to Traveloko. You got some additional expenses that you didn't have, or at least that are not itemized on a statement at Schneider. Okay, you're going to have to pay motor carrier liability and cargo insurance. That is insurance that's additional to the insurance that you're paying at Schneider for your truck. At Schneider, and for anywhere really, you're going to pay bobtail liability insurance as an owner-operator, and you will pay to protect your truck and trailer against loss. And so you're going to pay physical damage insurance for your truck and trailer, you're going to pay bobtail liability, and you're going to pay occupational accident insurance. That's what owner-operators are going to pay when they lease on to any company, and that is owner-operator specific. It is not, so it's going to be different costs for them. When I'm making my comparisons, I'm using the figures that I paid at Schneider. You make the adjustments based on what you paid, but we're going to equalize. All right, so, but with Traveloko, they, as motor carrier, have to secure primary liability insurance and cargo insurance. They charge that cost back to the owner-operator. So that owner-operator has to pay, I was given a figure after much debate of between $150 and $180 a week for that insurance. That's an expense that you'll see on your Traveloko statement that you won't see on your Schneider statement. You have trailer rental. They charge for a dry van trailer, $250 a week. We already covered the upfront cost of the $700 deposit that is refundable when you turn the trailer in, but you're going to pay $250 a week for a trailer at Traveloko. That's an expense you're going to have that you're not going to have at Schneider, because you're going to use Schneider's trailer. You got to pay for Traveloko's trailer. Tolls. Traveloko does not pay tolls. Yeah, you can negotiate higher rates with brokers to include the tolls, but Traveloko doesn't pay the tolls. You got to figure out how you're going to get those tolls paid yourself. And you got to pay for load boards. Schneider provides their own load board with their own freight base. What I pay right now, because I book my loads out of the spot market, I don't operate for Schneider or I'm as an owner operator. I use 2 load boards. Used to use 4. There used to be 4 that I used, but right now I use that and I use Internet Truck Stop, and I pay $35 a month for each one of those. So that's $70 a month that I pay for my load boards. That's a minimum. They go all the way up to $150 each, but I get the minimum. I don't need all of that other stuff, the tools and everything. I just want to book loads. So I pay $70 a month. So I calculated that to be $16.15 a week for your Traveloko expense that you don't have at Schneider. Okay, so those are additional expenses as an owner operator at Traveloko, at least to Traveloko. Okay, now, side note here, Traveloko's additional expenses are those that you have to pay to get your own authority. All right, so everybody knows how I feel about this. Most people lease to carriers to avoid paying those expenses. You know, when I first, got my CDL, I bought my truck and I applied for my operating authority. Guess what? My insurance with brand new CDL and everything was going to cost me $25,000 a year, more than $2,000 a month. And I was like, whoa, I was going to pay it because that's what I had decided to do. I went on and applied for the authority. But I went to Schneider while I was waiting on the authority. Waiting on that whole process. And when I got there, I found out about the choice program. And I found out I could pick my own loads. And I found out I would not have to pay for that insurance. And guess what? I hung around Schneider as long as I needed to so I can get in the choice program and not have that expense. And I was going to at least stay with Schneider for 2 years until I got some experience on my CDL and my insurance wouldn't be that much. So most people lease on to carriers so that they don't have to pay certain expenses. They can and they don't have to do certain things. They can focus on driving and making money. And a company like Schneider allows you to pick your own loads. That was just, that was the only kind of carrier I was going to lease to anyway. I could never be dispatched. I couldn't do this stuff and have nobody telling me where to go and how to do it. But that's preference. I'm not gonna get too much into that. Anyway, you're paying these expenses that I brought up. You would pay these expenses to have your own authority. So you're doing the work. You're generating the revenue. And my question here is, if you're going to go that far toward getting an operating authority, you're doing everything for yourself, pretty much, because the back office support is not, I'm sorry, I'm letting these comments. Jason told me don't read the comments, but I'm nosy. I can't help it. And Eric, I didn't see your comment, but I want to read it about the trailer rental. Anyway, you're going this far. You're going about 95%. Yeah, Schneider was a good stepping stone for me, but we'll talk about that. And I'll talk about all of that. But anyway, you're about 90% of the way. Think I'm back again, y'all. It's probably time number 10 now. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I have more overhead as a motor carrier, but I also have that much more revenue that I can generate. Ignore the comments. Okay, AJ, I'll ignore the comments. All right. Anyway, I have that, and like I said, I do the work that you guys are doing. Everything, we're getting the loads from the same place. Everybody, people at Traveloko, we're getting our loads from the same place. But I have nobody pulling from my revenue. So my question and, my sort of recommendation is get your own authority. Why not get your own authority? Now, I asked that question and I was given 4 main reasons for why a person would want to lease to a company, a business model like Traveloko's. And they were, 1, drug testing consortium. Yeah, a motor carrier has to sign up for a drug testing consortium. Guess what, y'all? That's just signing up and waiting on them to call you. Whether you lease to a carrier or whether you are a carrier, you have to be signed up with a drug testing consortium. It costs $99 a year or $199 for 3 years. I use Express Labs, and they charge me. Oh, you guys, y'all gonna have to go through so many videos if you're gonna listen to the replay. Anyway, we're gonna keep on going. I file an IFTA tax return every quarter, once every 3 months, 4 times a year. And guess what? How long it takes me? About an hour. The tracking, I have a Rand McNally GPS that tracks all of my miles offline. I have a Rand McNally GPS that tracks all of the miles I travel in every state, and I have a fuel card where I can generate a report of all of the fuel I purchased in every state, and I can say for this month, for this quarter, this year. So I get those 2 sources of information. I go plug all that information into the website where I file my IFTA. Takes me 1 hour, and I send a payment to them. Okay, big deal. IFTA. Safety and regulatory. That is a bit of a situation, but it involves record keeping that you should be doing anyway. You got to keep your logs anyway. You may have to keep them as a driver for 8 days, and you pass them on to your carrier, and they got to keep them for however long it takes, however long they have to keep them. It might be, I really can't remember how long I have to keep the records. I keep them forever. I don't throw nothing away, and I scan everything and all of that. But you got to keep your logs so that if you get audited, they want to see your logs. They want a driver file. They want a vehicle file. They want to see that you got the drug testing set up. They want your IFTA filings. They want your fuel receipts. You have to keep up with all of that. You just have to keep it. You still have to generate it in the first place, but you got to keep it. Just keep it in case you get audited. That And I'm going to do on my blog, onegirloonetruck.com, I'm going to do a very detailed, that's one of my on my list of things. I'm going to do a very detailed article on everything it takes to the records you got to maintain for safety and safety compliance. Honestly, the work that I do to keep my records straight, just in case I get an audit, takes me probably about 2 hours a week to put it all together. I just have to be very diligent at keeping it so that they ask me, boom. Now, I participated in a few audits by the FMCSA. What I'm being told now is that I'm back, folks. We're going to carry on. They'll ask you for fuel receipts. Then you give them those fuel receipts. They may pick 5 fuel receipts. They say, show me your logs for those days. And look at your logs. If you were on duty when you got that fuel, most of the time, they look at that and they may ask for a few more pieces of information. They just want to see, okay, if I ask you for it, boom, you got it. They write you up, give you a good rating, and everything is good. They mostly test your integrity, the integrity of your records. There is not this big deal. Just keep your records. That's all you have to do for audit compliance. Number 4 reason I was given for wanting to work with Traveloko over getting your own authority is that you can't work with all of the brokers. A new carrier, is going to get brokers want to work with them. Now, that's a valid point. A new carrier is not as bad as it's made out to be, and everybody has to go through this as a new carrier. But you're going to have brokers who, you're not 6 months old, we don't want to give you a load. If you're not a year old, we don't want to give you a load. I might say that's about 20%, 20 to 25% of the brokers you might call. Big deal. Book another load. That's just a growing pain. And if you go to Traveloko and you lease onto them as an owner-operator, and you later decide to get your own authority, you're still going to be a new carrier. You still got to start that clock. You got to start that clock at some point. Anyway, those reasons that are given to me are not reasons to lease on to the business model of Traveloko. I'm not talking about Traveloko. I'm not talking about Traveloko specifically, but the business model of Traveloko. I wouldn't say they're reason enough. Now, that's my opinion, and my opinion doesn't necessarily is not gospel. It may be, something for somebody else to do. All right, but those, in my opinion, you've come this far. If you go into Traveloko or a company like Traveloko, let's call it Great Wide. Great Wide operates that way too. But if you're going to go to that company, you need to really look into don't let the things scare you that you think are barriers for you running on your own, because it's really not that big a deal. All right, and for me specifically, performing those duties is well worth me keeping my 15% in my pocket. So, after you have acquired a trailer, you've obtained an IRP account and purchased your base plates, you've paid for liability and cargo insurance, and you've subscribed to and paid for spot market load boards. After you've paid a few thousands of dollars to do all of that, at that point, the only difference between being leased to Traveloko and having your own authority would be, number 1, put Traveloko's name and numbers on your truck and have them take 15% of your negotiated revenue, or pay the FMCSA $300 to get your authority. It's $300, not $600. If you want to get broker authority, it's $600, but you don't need broker authority. It's $300. Get your operating authority, your interstate operating authority. Put your name and numbers on the truck. Pay $99 a year or $199 for 3 years to sign up with a drug consortium. File your own IFTA tax returns every quarter and keep your records straight. Do all of that, which is not a whole lot. Keep your 15%. Keep all of your revenue. My opinion, again, but it's a strong one. It's a strong opinion. All right. I was also told that Traveloko welcomes you as an owner-operator bringing direct freight to them. And I want to point out, though, that if you do that, own authority, got you. Exactly. If you choose to go get direct customers, you're getting direct customers for Traveloko. Those aren't your customers. You go get your own authority, still Traveloko's customers. So that's another thing. I have a couple of direct customers. They're mine. They're not anybody's. I'm not leased on anybody and bringing them customers. They're my customers. So, that's another thing. You have the ability as a motor carrier with your own authority to negotiate direct freight from brokers, from shippers and receivers, and from other carriers. You can directly negotiate. This is another topic for another day, but I hear so many people saying, when I get my carrier authority, I'm going to get my broker authority too, so I can go and negotiate directly with the shippers and receivers, and I can get all the money. And that's not true. That's not a true statement. You don't need broker authority to negotiate. Carrier authority gives you as much of a right and if more of a right. You're the carrier. The broker is the middleman. You don't have to use a middleman. You can negotiate freight directly with shippers, receivers, brokers, and other motor carriers. You have a choice as a motor carrier to do all of your own negotiating, not just with brokers. So just letting you know that as well. If you go out there and you get a direct customer and you're leased on to a business model such as Traveloko, Great Wide, we're gonna do that because I'm not picking on Traveloko, but this is who we're talking about since we had the comparisons done. But you have the right. You have the right to negotiate, the freight, you direct freight. Okay. Anyway, if you get, my point was, if you go out there and you get a direct customer for Traveloko, you're getting that customer for them. You happen to run all the loads under them. You might be able to take that customer with you, but it's their customer. You're getting it for them. All right. Now, I've also heard statement. This is one for Traveloko. I've heard some people say, if you got your own truck and your own trailer, you got to have your own operating authority to go to Traveloko. I addressed that in the beginning. That is not true. And again, if you understood what you're saying, you would understand how ridiculous that statement is. Carriers don't lease to other carriers. You can only one set of numbers on that truck. At one truck. You can have another truck if you wanted to do that. Hey, TJ. But you do not and cannot have your own authority and lease that truck on to Traveloko. So whoever's saying that, revisit what you think you heard, but you don't have to have your own authority to go to Traveloko. Traveloko will work with a motor carrier for their back office support, and they would charge you 10% for it. That's the fact. That's what I was told by the owner himself, Eddie. Okay, so you can either lease to a carrier or you can operate as a motor carrier, but not both. Not at the same time. Not with the same truck. Okay, so they offer their back office support. If you decide to get your operating authority and you need a little help with that back office support, they will offer that to you for 10%. Other people offer it too. That's what I used to do, period, for other motor carriers. Now, if a person, say I'm a Schneider independent contractor, I'm a Schneider owner-operator, and I do want to get my authority, but I'm just not sure, I don't want to just jump in with both feet because, it's just, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just want to, I want to try it out, but I don't want to go full speed. Traveloko could be a good stepping stone. Jumping ship to Traveloko just because of hype. Somebody told you can make a lot more money there, or, 10%. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't help but read these comments. I'm just nosy. Okay, yeah, 10%. We got our opinions about what the 10% is. Yeah. Anyway, but jumping ship from Schneider just because you heard you can make a lot more money, or you can negotiate with freight brokers and all of this stuff. Yeah. I mean, the glorification. Yeah, we that's not a good reason to go moving over. Just taking in information and running with it like that. You need to do your own research. But if you wanted to use a business model like Traveloko to transition into getting your own authority, that might be a good move. It possibly could be a good move. Number one, the benefits of that, you won't have to buy a trailer right away, even though you'll be paying a high premium for renting one because they're going to charge you that $250 a week, which comes to $1,000 a month. Well, heck, I bought a trailer from Schneider for $6,000. And, and even if you were to lease one that you're going to own, I doubt you're going to be paying $1,000 a month for a trailer. So you're going to be paying a high premium for a trailer if you, rent one from Schneider. From Traveloko. But still a benefit. You don't have to buy one up front right away. You'll have You won't have to make an upfront down payment for the insurance. Schneider's a fleece lease. Well, we might agree with that, maybe not. Anyway, with Traveloko, it's a rental. You'll never own that trailer. You get the trailer from them, you pay them $250 a week. No rentals, Eric. I want to know about that. We can talk about that at the end, because I want to be corrected. If I say something wrong here, please correct me. And correct me in front of everybody, because that's the whole point of this video. I don't want incorrect information out there. Okay, so lease purchase trailers now as of today. Okay, Traveloko is lease purchasing trailers as of today. Y'all know how much they cost per week? We'll talk about that. I'll look at that. Now, if you want to use Traveloko as a stepping stone, number 2, you won't have to pay an upfront payment, down payment for insurance, because they start the settlement deductions when you start. Me, I had to pay close to $4,000 for the down payment for my insurance. And well, first of all, I was new with a CDL. It varies from person to person. You got the experience, your driving record, and all of that determine how much you're going to pay for insurance as a motor carrier, and how long you've been a motor carrier. New carriers kind of get hit hard, and we have to pay a down payment, pretty big down payment. You don't have to pay that if you go to Traveloko. They just start settlement deducting. So that would be one benefit of using them as a stepping stone. You'll have a while to get yourself up to speed on the safety and regulatory requirements, because if you lease onto them, they're going to handle that. So you can focus on, booking your freight and getting your feet wet with that. So it could be a good move to use Traveloko as a stepping stone to allow yourself to become familiar with booking freight, with the brokers in the spot market. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a bad connection, y'all. I'm so sorry. But if you want to get out there and you just want to focus on, now I've been booking freight with Schneider. It's been click, pick, and go, and the ease of it and everything. You want to get from that environment to the environment of negotiating freight with the freight brokers. And you want to get good at that, and you want to, you want to focus on just that, and you don't want to worry about nothing else. Yeah, I say, go over to Traveloko, get your feet wet, learn what you're doing. Okay, yeah, no, you good. Okay, yeah, rentals are a temporary solution. It's around $550 a month. Okay, get the numbers, Eric. Thank you very much. Anyway, it could be a good stepping stone, and you want to use that high trailer payment, and you want to use the what they're charging you as far as the percentage they're taking out of revenue. Use it as tuition, but don't hang around that business model too long, because you're cheating yourself. And that's still my strong opinion, but really it is. Traveloko's business model is not a new concept. There's a lot of companies out there operating that way. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. There we go again. Traveloko's business model is not a new concept. Great Wide is one that's been out there for a while. And, I don't know, and I'm going to look into it. Lease purchase vans are going to be around $550 to $600. That's a month, Jason? A month? $550 plus 85%. Okay, got you. We right now, I don't want to argue the rate, but I do want to correct a statement that I made about rental trailers. So that's why I'm gonna quit looking, Jason, I promise you. But I'm really really want to get this right. Okay, so yeah, they're gonna be you're gonna have a lease purchase option for the trailers. Thank you for that information. Now, okay, again, you got other companies. I hear that Traveloko pays for the motor carrier liability and cargo insurance. They pay like 80%, but we're not going to talk about that now. But I'm just saying that other companies, said that to make the point that you have other companies out there that operate similarly. And what I said that to say is, this isn't some new, great, wonderful concept. It's been around. You can lease to any motor carrier, and a motor carrier can take a percentage of your profit. You got one truck, one owner, guys that'll lease on people to do that, and they'll take a cut of the revenue, just to allow them to use their operating authority. So it's not, it's not this big deal. It's just another way to do things. So before you give in to hype and you go running based on that, do your homework, because it's just not all the time going to be what you think it is. And I just don't want to see people get out there and be disappointed because everything was so hyped up, and then it just wasn't what you expected. Now, I want to compare Traveloko, Schneider's business model to Traveloko's business model. Because one thing I've always heard Schneider ICs talk about is how they pay Schneider 35% for their services. And I've adamantly corrected that because it's not right. It is not right. As an independent contractor, an owner-operator, Schneider contracted you for your services. You didn't contract them for theirs. And let me explain the difference here. Every business has a commodity, and that's a product or a service that they sell, the commodity. Schneider's commodity is freight transportation. That's what they're in the business to do. They transport freight, and everything that they do, including contracting owner-operators, is to get that freight moved. That's what they sell, freight transportation. Schneider generates revenue for their company by making deals with shippers to transport their freight. That's how they generate the revenue. They would do that with or without owner-operators because that's what they do. They're in the business of transporting freight. Schneider pays owner-operators a percentage of that revenue that they generate for their services. And their services is hauling the loads. Schneider generates the revenue, Schneider gets the deals, and they pay the owner-operator to transport the freight. Okay, as an owner-operator, Schneider would pay you 65% of the line haul for your services. You don't pay them 35% for booking freight. And you don't pay them 35% for their trailer pool and their back office. Those are things that, as a trucking company, Schneider acquired long before you ever contracted with them, and they would still have those things long after you're gone. So that's what Schneider does. Schneider and any other motor carrier. We're talking about Schneider versus Traveloko right now, so I keep talking about Schneider. Now, let's look at Traveloko. Schneider's customer, look back to Schneider's customers are the shippers and the receivers that they transport freight for. That's where they get their money from. And you get paid out of the revenue that they generate by acquiring their freight to transport. Traveloko, on the other hand, they're technically a trucking company because they have an operating authority. That's what makes them a trucking company. But unlike Schneider, freight transportation is not their commodity. They have no freight. They have no assets. They have no trucks. I mean, except maybe the trucks you lease from them. But they don't have their own trucks. They don't have any freight. They don't have a way to move freight because that's not what they sell. Their commodity is their license or their operating authority and the bit of infrastructure that they provide for you so that you can transport freight. Their customer is not the shippers and receivers and whoever the people that want to transport freight. Their customer is the owner-operator. That's where they get their money from. They don't generate revenue. You generate revenue, and they take a piece of it. That's the difference. You don't pay Schneider for their services, but you do pay Traveloko for their services. Now, some people would think, semantics, she's just, giving out, there's no difference, but there is a difference. There's a very, very important difference here, okay? Because when you're paying Traveloko, the arrangement, you're paying them to use their authority, but you're booking freight under their authority, so it becomes their revenue. And you're generating the revenue, they're taking 15% off the top, and they're getting a tax write-off for the other 85% that they're paying you. So let's say, I think we can all agree that $200,000 a year is an easy target, to book revenue at Schneider or Traveloko. But we're going to really talk about Traveloko because in the spot market, $200,000 is very easy. Yeah, you can go $300,000 if you're very aggressive, but $200,000 is a easy target. Off the top, that 15%, it's going to be $30,000 that you're going to pay Traveloko for their services, for their back office support, for their MC, for their operating authority. You're paying them, but you're not paying them under the arrangement that you have because you got to book the freight and they take the money off the top, then they pay you the difference. So in a technical sense, they're paying you. They're paying you 85%. In a technical sense, you're not paying them 30%, although you are paying them 30%. Now, let's imagine this $200,000 that you booked Say you booked it under your own authority. You were a motor carrier. And you did everything. You booked all the loads and everything, but you hired someone to take care of all of the back office support and everything. And you paid them $30,000 to do it. Now that $30,000 you would pay them, that person that you hired, would be a business expense, and you would get a tax deduction for it. It save you around, if you're in the 25% tax bracket, it'll save you about $7,500 in taxes. Under Traveloko's business model, you're generating the revenue for them. They're taking it off the top, and they're paying you the 85%. Guess who gets the tax write-off for that? Anybody want to help me with that? Traveloko gets it. So that's the difference in the arrangements. That's why I'm so adamant all the time about getting this terminology correct, because there is a difference. It's a big difference. So under Traveloko, you're not getting that tax write-off for the money they're taking off the top, because they're taking it and then they're paying you off of revenue that you're generating. So, that's just something to think about. That's an expense that you can't claim a deduction for. Totally different business models. Schneider's paying you for your services. You're paying Traveloko for their services. You're not paying Schneider for their services. They generate the revenue. At Schneider, they generate the revenue. At Traveloko, you generate the revenue. That's the difference. Okay? Now, let's go to this spot market booking, negotiating freight with brokers. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. You have a little bit of control over your rates. But it's not 100% the big deal that it's made to be. I've been booking freight in the spot market, for many years, way before I got a CDL. One of the differences between them is you make more at Traveloko regardless. That's another thing. We get into this now. You make more regardless. I would tend to argue with that. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you do, but it depends on a lot of factors. It's not always this, piece of cake. You call a broker up and he's got more in it than he's trying to, give you and all of that. There is so much more that goes into this than book the freight and you like you're going to buy a car and you offer and you counter offer and you do, no, there's factors, there's market factors, there's supply and demand. There is so much that goes into that. You would need to be booking freight in the spot market, I would say, for at least a year before you see it all, because freight is cyclical, freight is seasonal. And you got the same lanes and stuff, the lane differences with the rates you can book. You can go into one market with a great load and you can't come out of there with a great load. You're going to have to suffer to come out with a sucky load, your crap load. And so you try calling up somebody, you go down to Miami. I do it all the time because in the wintertime, I don't travel in the Northeast and stuff. I'm still a rookie driver. Been driving for 3 years. I'm still a rookie. I don't want to put my truck up in the Northeast in the snow and ice, man. I just don't want to do it. I never had to, because I never had a dispatcher, and I don't want to. I don't have to. So I do a lot of Florida in the wintertime. I go to Miami. I get great rates. Now that's where your negotiating comes in, because a lot of times I get enough to going in there to deadhead back out, and that is because the brokers are so desperate to get that freight moved, because nobody wants to go into Florida because they know they're not coming out of Florida with nothing. They're not coming out with a good rate. Hey, you'd be very good, very lucky to get $1 a mile out of Florida. Very lucky. So when I go into Miami or something, I'm getting that $3 a mile. I don't want your freight. And and sometimes, those tactics do work. You're gonna, I say 3 a mile. Sometimes I've got even more than that, but that's a place where, yeah, you're gonna do real good, and you better do good, because when you're coming out, you might be deadheading out, or you might be doing the equivalent of deadheading. Now you get down there in Miami, and you try calling that broker down there, and trying to play hardball. They will hang up on you faster than that phone ring. You call up, they offer you this load, and it's 76 cents a mile, and you say, hey, that's ridiculous. Bye, because they know they're going to hang up. They're not going to waste their time on you. And you won't even get around to all this negotiating we're talking about, because they know that when you hang that phone up, 5 more people going to call behind you to get that load. In the spot market in Miami coming up north, as soon as the load hits the board, it's gone. So try that negotiation stuff with them. Northeast, same thing. The further up you go up to Maine and all that stuff, you ain't coming out of there with no good rates. I don't care how good your negotiating skills are. So the principles here, some of them hold true in some areas and some markets at some time of the year, and at others they just don't. And the ability to negotiate is a good thing, but don't get out here thinking you about to write your own paycheck. Yeah, sometimes it could be good, sometimes it's not. It's just not. First of all, the broker knows what he's got in the load. Sometimes, and brokers do under negotiate freight. The broker has to negotiate with the shippers and the receivers. They have to negotiate. Sometimes they don't get it right. Sometimes they miss the mark. So a load that they could have gotten, say, $1,000 for, they might be a new broker or something, or they might have negotiated $800. Then they don't find out that they under negotiated that freight with the shipper and receiver till they try to put it in the spot market and get a carrier to pull it. That carrier, they cannot find a carrier that'll pull it for less than $1,000. That would be the break even for what they would have gotten. Well, all right, guess what that broker has to do? Just to move that load and not lose his customer, he's got to pay the carrier out of his pocket to keep his customer. What do you think? What kind of negotiating you think you're going to do then? I don't care what market you in. You got a rookie broker who just under negotiated a rate and he's got to come out of his pocket. I don't care how much negotiating you're doing. You're not going to get too good on that rate, on that particular load. And it happens all the time. His top dollar is pretty much the limit. And he might take a loss on a critical load. But that's the situation. The broker also knows pretty much, because he's been doing it, he knows what he can move that load for. So again, here's another situation. I don't care how good your negotiating skills are. If that broker knows that 5 people are going to call for that load and he's going to book that load in 30 minutes based on his experience at this rate, $800, and you call up trying to get 1,000 or 1,200 or whatever, no, that's okay. Bye. I hang up because I know people going to call based on my experience. So that's going to be a factor that's going to play into your ability to negotiate. And that broker knows that other people going to call and move that freight cheaper based on his experience, that's what he's going to do. He's going to hold out and wait. Brokers know the lanes just like you do. So like I touched on before, the Northeast and the Florida brokers, they'll hang up on you faster than that phone will ring if you call up trying to play hardball. You'll get a great rate going in, yeah, but you're not going to always get a great rate coming out. And there are tactics, of course, waiting until the same day. That's a good thing for one people, good thing, not so good for others. It has worked for me and it's worked against me. How it's worked for me, sometimes I've had a load to cancel and I found myself sitting, didn't have a load, looked on the load board, got lucky, and I also had a broker out there who was at the last minute. I played hardball and I won. Got a great rate for it better than the load that canceled. Sometimes I'll post my truck on the spot market load boards and let them call me, because when they call me, you tend to get better rates sometimes. They're calling you, they need that load covered and people aren't calling on it. That's another tactic, but it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. It's not a guaranteed thing. I saw you, AJ, and now I'm wondering what you wrote. But anyway, those tactics work sometimes, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes when you wait, you don't get a load at all. So you want to hold out and you think this broker's going to get desperate and he's going to give me a good rate. And you look up and you're sitting there with no load at all. Now me, I have a customer that I pull freight for twice a week. I go to Pennsylvania. And from Alabama to Pennsylvania. And you can't compare 120 against 220 from load boards. Okay, day and night. You can say that, but I'm booking this freight in the load. I'm booking this freight in the spot market every day and have been doing it for years. So you're not going to tell me something I don't already know. And I don't buy into the hype that, you're making so much more money in the spot market, because you may and you may not. And you also got those additional expenses to consider. So I'm just trying to bring it down a notch or two. Let's not make it this big hype Let's just put it in a realistic form. Let's put it in a realistic light and give people something to, some realistic figures and some realistic expectations. Okay? Don't go running out there thinking you're about to write your own paycheck, because it's not going to work that way. It's going to work that way sometimes. You're going to do very good. But okay, I'm sorry. I wish I could read I'm trying to stop reading this. Okay, I'm trying to stop reading these comments, y'all, but I'm nosy. Okay, but anyway, all I'm trying to say is, yeah, sometimes the tactics work, sometimes they don't. And sometimes, you'll find yourself waiting and you won't have a load at all. I did it. I've done it before myself, So sometimes again, just it's hit and miss, and it's just not going to always be that way. So you can't take one load and say, here's what I did in the spot market and I negotiated very good, and then you take this load with Schneider and compare the two and have that be a representation of what you're going to do all the time. Because just like with Schneider, you're going to get good loads, you're going to get crap loads. You're going to do the same thing in the spot market. And like I said, it's just not a big guarantee. It's not an ironclad guarantee that you're just going to go out there and you're going to make so much more money. I'm here to tell you, I've done it. I've done the Schneider thing, and I'm doing the broker thing now. Been doing it way before I got a CDL. Did it for other people. So I was already familiar with this way before I started doing it for myself. I chose, when I got my CDL, I was going to get I applied for my operating authority, but I chose to go to Schneider knowing everything that was going on in the spot market, and I would still be there right now, but it wasn't my choice. I got my contract canceled at Schneider. So I'm just telling you now, Schneider worked for me. Okay, so, and this is not for people, I'm not trying to get this, an argument started or anything like that, but my biggest thing is, let's be realistic about everything. Let's not argue. Let's not, we'll have pissing contests and, and stuff. Let's not argue. But I just want to put some real stuff out there for you guys to think about, now, the weekly numbers, as I know them, again, profit equals revenue minus expenses. Some people might say gross doesn't matter because I can run fewer miles and I can gross less and take home more. And did you have Schneider Finance truck or your own when you ran for Schneider? I leased a truck from Schneider Finance, and I still lease that truck today, and I'm not with Schneider. So I still have my Schneider Finance truck. And I'm still paying the payment on it right now. I haven't paid it off yet. In an attempt to truly compare apples to apples, I put together the best numbers I know for a weekly settlement. Traveloko folks, I want you to shoot my numbers down if I'm wrong. I want to be corrected. Okay. Again, so far I've only seen load versus load comparisons and expenses expressed in cents per mile. We need dollars per week, not cents per mile. Dollars per week is not a moving target. Cents per mile is. Okay, anybody can take a given load or several loads and compare the revenue on those loads and state the expenses in terms of cents per mile. And doing that, a person can pretty much paint any kind of picture that they want to. But when we start looking at, here's what I did in a week, here's what I did in a week, here's what I paid in a week, here's what I paid in a week, here's my bottom line, that's when we get a good comparison. You can talk about how much more you're making in the spot market, but guess what? At the end of the week, that's where it's going to show up at. If you're making so much more in the spot market than you're making at Schneider, then it's going to be frosting on the cake, because your paycheck is just going to be your bottom line is going to be a lot more. Just that's just what it is. But for comparison purposes, we need to compare one guy at Schneider booking the same amount of revenue as one guy at Traveloko, or girl, me. Okay. Where the numbers add up to show an accurate comparison is in the history. So show me your gross numbers for the week and show me your weekly expenses, and let's compare those numbers. That's what a true apples to apples comparison is. I realized net income can vary based on how you manage your miles. One guy can run 250 miles, one guy can run 500 miles, and they can gross the same because one guy knows that, that rate per mile matters, and, keeping expenses down matters and stuff. So I realize one person may do better than the other as far as their expenses. One person may not spend as much fuel as another, but to equalize, we're going to assume here that both people ran the same miles and they generated the same revenue. So I hear people say all the time, gross is not important. Gross is important. Net depends on gross. Gross minus expenses is net. Without adequate gross, you won't have adequate net, or you might not have net at all. So, okay. So your equalizers here. The comparison is targeted at a Schneider IC who leased a truck from Schneider Finance and want to move the truck over, and they need to get a trailer from Traveloko. New news about the lease purchase. I don't have that considered in my numbers because I just found out about it in this feed. So we're still going to go with the $250 a week. We can make the adjustment. And apparently it's going to be a good adjustment, and that's a great thing. I'm using a weekly gross revenue of $4,500 for both companies. I chose that number because $4,500 is a realistic average for Schneider ICs. If you can make more at Schneider or Traveloko, then your bottom line will just be better. But for comparison, we need a top line figure, the same top line figure. I'm using revenue just the way it's booked off each load board. Schneider's revenue on the load board already shows payment to the truck, so they don't have to take any money out because their 35% has already been taken out. Okay, so when revenue is booked at Traveloko off the spot market boards, they still have to take the cut out. So that on my comparison, you're going to see Schneider with no commission and Traveloko with a commission because Schneider's revenue has been taken out. Correct me, y'all, if you need to. I'm using the same figure for physical damage insurance for both companies, and that's based on no. Okay, I want to be corrected. All right, I'm using the same figure for physical damage coverage for both companies because that is driver specific. So if you pay $100 a week here, you're gonna pay $100 a week there. Okay. Jason, you say your numbers are after commissions. I'm speaking of a statement now, okay? I'm speaking of, you go over, for comparison purposes, you go to Schneider's board, you book $4,500. That is after with the figures they see on the Schneider's load board, the 35% has been taken out. So nothing else has to come out for Schneider. You go to the spot market boards, you book $4,500 in revenue. And I'm not talking about your numbers now. I'm talking about my comparison here. You book $4,500 worth of freight in the spot market. Traveloko still has to take their 15%. I mean, is that wrong? Help me out. Okay. I don't see the comment yet. But this is for comparison, not your comparison to my numbers, but Schneider booking $4,500, Traveloko booking $4,500. What has to come out from that top line figure? Traveloko still has to take 15%. Schneider has already taken their 35%. Right. Schneider already took out 35%. Right. So, I mean, if I add that 35% in, we can't, I can give you a top line figure with the 35%. It's just going to go up higher. So I'm just saying, start the week out and okay. I apologize. I'm thinking Jason. Okay, you're right. 4,500, it'll be 6,000. Anyway, okay, Jason, I apologize. I thought you were going back and forth with me, and I want to get this right. I don't want it wrong. So anyway, I'm saying, before I present numbers, I want you to challenge them. When you see them, I want you to challenge them, anybody who can, because I don't want to put one company in a better light than another. I want to put the facts out there for you to decide. And I have a Schneider statement. It's from 2015, but since we're doing the 4,500, okay. because we're doing the 4,500, I took one of my statements that was close to 4,500. It was like 46 and some change. And so that's where I got my deductions from. And I got the Traveloko deductions from the information I was able to pull together. Okay, so this is what I have. Let me get it. And now you go to my site. If you go to my blog, onegirloonetruck.com, onegirloonetruck.com, I posted 2 spreadsheets out there. Hold on, my tablet decided to crap out on me. I posted 2 spreadsheets out there, and you can see these yourself. Because oh no, my tablet is updating. Crap. Okay. Remind me later. Okay. All right. Sorry, folks. Anyway, I'm gonna put the camera on the spreadsheet that I have here that shows $4,500 book with Schneider and $4,500 book with Traveloko. You guys get your phones ready to do a screenshot if you want to, or go to my site, onegirloonetruck.com, and the first article you'll see is Traveloko, Schneider versus Traveloko, and all I did was posted my Schneider settlement, and I posted the 2 spreadsheets that I'm about to show you here. Okay, and the first one, let's just look at it. Let's take a look at it. I'm gonna flip this camera around. Crap. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that well or not. And I can't change the orientation to portrait. Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys could see that well, or if but like I said again, go to onegirloonetruck.com. Look at that first spreadsheet that has $4,500 gross on both sides. All right. On the top line, of course, is $4,500 for both companies. Commission for Traveloko at 15% for a Schneider owner operator that moved his Schneider finance truck over, $675. Truck payment, based on my truck payment, $775. You're going to pay that. If you move your truck, you're going to pay it whether you're Schneider or Traveloko. Maintenance account, $135, whether you're Traveloko or Schneider. Truck insurance, which is your physical damage, and I included the occupational accident insurance in there too, but you got your bobtail, your physical damage, and your occupational accident insurance, $153.37. Those were my figures. If you can get better, you're going to get better at Schneider or Traveloko, but you're going to pay that. Now, the liability, cargo, and trailer insurance, $180 at Traveloko, nothing at Schneider. It's included in the 35%. That would be the argument, and that would be right. Trailer rental, we got the $250. They got new stuff now, but $250 for now for this comparison. On your plates and permits, we know that's an upfront cost at Traveloko, so you paid it all. The IRP plates and permits at Schneider, they charge you $31.75 a week. So that's a Schneider, not a Traveloko expense. But you've already paid it with Traveloko. I'm actually kind of being a little more fair to Traveloko here because it should be broken down, but we got it in an upfront cost, so I'm not putting it in the statement. Assuming you spent the same for fuel for comparison purposes, and assuming you got paid for your load board, you got a big difference here in the net in a week. I say $2,404.88 on the Schneider side, $1,315.48 on the Traveloko side. That's what you're taking home. Okay? Somebody, please correct me right now. If you got an argument against these numbers, somebody correct me now. Speak now. And you don't have to forever hold your peace. I gross $8,000 to $10,000 at Traveloko. How much you doing at Schneider? Yukon, what are you pulling? What are you pulling? Yukon, you pulling reefer? You pulling flatbed? What are you pulling? You pulling dry van? You grossing $8,000 to $10,000. I don't do that in the spot market on any day. Never done it. Okay. Reefer in the Northeast and Midwest. That's what I darn thought. Okay, let me tell you something here. And somebody posted in the Schneider group and said, I had a great week, $7,500. Why in the heck are you comparing reefer to Schneider's dry van? Dry van doesn't do that. You can show me your statements for your reefer, but at the same time, you're pulling reefer, Schneider's pulling dry van, so it's not an apples to apples comparison, which is the point of this video. Okay, so you grossing $8,000 to $10,000 a week pulling reefer, which even the people I know that you pull dry van loads too, but you're pulling reefer. Schneider is strictly dry van, so that's not an apples to apples comparison. So we don't want to talk about that anymore. If somebody who wants to tell me that what they're doing in the spot market, Ricky Slocum, I work for me. I don't work for anybody. I work for me. So, and I get my loads out of the spot market just like the people at Traveloko. I get them from the same brokers. I book my freight from the same sources that the Traveloko guys do, but the difference between them and me is I don't have anybody pulling anything out of my revenue. When I book it, it's mine. Yeah, I'm still doing dry van. Okay. Now, my other spreadsheet here. All right, my other spreadsheet here is, I'm going to turn the camera around. And all it is, basically, is a comparison. It's the same numbers, but it's just showing how much freight you have to book in the spot market, to get to the same bottom line with Traveloko. So I'm going to do this. I hope you can see it. Okay. With the same expenses, everything, to get to the same bottom line at Traveloko. Turn the camera back around. Okay. You've got to book $5,700 at Traveloko to get to the same bottom line as Schneider's $4,500. Again, I want to be corrected. Somebody correct me. Somebody tell me, what the difference is there. Little dog, you do reefer over the road, but we have guys doing over the road dry van doing $8,000. I'm not going to argue that. If you say you're booking $8,000 a week, hey, man, more power to you. But I'm not doing it. So Jason has gone live to give his side of, I was hoping he would correct me here, but he's gone live now. I used to work for Schneider, Ricky. I used to be an owner operator for Schneider. You came in late and I said all of this early. Yes. So, okay, isn't it 28.15 since it would be from 6,000? You can bump it up to 6,000 and then pull the 35% out. You can do that, but it would still come out to the same 4,500. And I can revise that and we can account for that. But I'm talking about you starting at Schneider at the beginning of a week, somebody starting at Traveloko at the beginning of a week, and they're booking what they see on the load board. Yeah. AJ, I want to see that too, but Yukon still said he pulls reefer. That's the 15% he was talking about, not Schneider. Okay, the problem I'm seeing at Schneider these days is trying to book that kind of freight at good rates. 4,500 can easily be done, but you have to run your sold off most weeks. Okay, I didn't get all of that, and these comments are disappearing, so I'm trying to read them real fast. I book off Schneider's load board. You're getting hosed. That's not for me, obviously. But, okay. Now, since Jason has gone live to answer to my video, I kind of want to see, what he's got to say. So I guess that will end my video right now. And I thank y'all for watching, and I thank you for supporting me, and thank you for listening. So we will, we'll get back to this at some point because I want to go and see what Jason's talking about. Thank you guys, and we'll talk again at some point. Have a good night.